Production funding for Making It Up North is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
The English language picked up sauna as the one Finnish word that made it into the English dialect, and that's sort of how we know the lens through it here, and why some people correct you on pronunciation. We never correct people. We just give them the great experience.
Well, it's a real strong connection to my Finnish heritage. The sauna, they are known to be the inventors of it. And I grew up having only a sauna for 13 years. You know, we didn't have a bathtub, we had a sauna.
I love the fact that here in the North, there is more vocabulary around sauna than anywhere else in the country, from what I know.
I love the Lampa massa, the intensity of getting those rocks, not just hot, but densely hot.
And that will make winter bearable.
I mean, sauna has just been my thing, and I love it. I love it for so many reasons and elements. I wrote a book on how to build a sauna, and one of my passions is to share that, and I take great joy in helping people. I love the DIY ethos, and you know, it need not be a super expensive project. I akin it to a candle. You know, I have the candle lit in my backyard, and I love helping light other candles of good sauna.
A little pile of wood and some water, and you've got your therapist. I like this. I feel like saying, "Welcome to my sauna." My name is Patty Salo Downs, and I'm here in my backyard at my sauna. Well, I wanted a screen door. And this was a custom-built sauna, so we could have it the way we wanted. I remember as a little girl at my grandma's, and you know, when you heard the screen door slam, you knew it was either your turn or somebody else's. And that, to me, brought back just really great memories. So Wednesday night, Saturday nights were sauna nights. And it was just so refreshing and a great way to get clean and relaxed. And that's what I really appreciate about the sauna. It's so relaxing when that steam is, you know, just surrounding you, and you're laying on a bench and you just can let go and be at peace. The other critical thing that I wanted in the sauna was that little window in between the cold room and the steam room. And the little window in old-fashioned saunas, they were always used for putting the kerosene lamp. The connection to the family, I mean, we grew up in saunas. You know, actually saunas were used as a laundry room, you know, way back when. My mom did laundry in the sauna. And babies were born in the sauna. And the dead, when they died, they were cleaned in the sauna. So it's really the cycle of life.
I think the tradition here has held because of the culture and the wellness behind it. It's really integrated into my grandparents' life that they, every week, take saunas.
Finns have a line that says, every sauna has its own soul, and it is really true. When you're sitting on the sauna bench, you can really feel the spirit of a sauna. And the heart of a sauna is, of course, the sauna stove.
Heat is the first ingredient. If you don't have that, that's the first thing you invest in. hour and a half north of here in Tower, Minnesota, is Lampa Manufacturing, and they make the Kuma stove. I would say it's the best American-made sauna stove that there is.
In Finnish, it means hot. I'm Garrett Lampa. I'm CEO of Lampa Manufacturing. My great-grandpa, Richard, was kind of the go-to guy for sauna stoves.
So, as far as we know, this was the first sauna that Daryl's grandfather built. It would have been about in the 1930s. A lady out on the lake here that was about 92 years old called up Daryl to see if he wanted to buy back his grandfather's sauna.
Then my grandpa Herbie had owned the dairy, which was our old factory up on, in Tower over here. And him and my dad, Daryl, collaborated together and, kept tinkering and testing and have developed our Kuma sauna stove line that way.
Imagine a cold winter's night in Tower, Minnesota, and they're out there testing and iterating and welding more nuances, and they really leaned into the art of creating the most efficient wood-burning stove that they could, and they did it.
A year ago this month, we moved into this facility. This is a 9,000 square foot facility. This was made possible through the IRRB. They helped finance the construction of the new building, and so we got in here last September.
Coming from the manufacturing facility we had before to this it's night and day.
In the old building, it was almost more like a blacksmith shop. Everything was kind of one off.
Our process has just improved so much. From Morgan doing customer service on the telephone, she is fantastic with people. And then Dale, for his manufacturing background, is super strong. And the vision he had for laying out this new facility over here, it was instrumental in, making this thing work.
Getting into this building allowed us to really take some significant steps forward. So we'll kind of start at the beginning. This is just raw steel. All of our steel is US steel. We go from the raw steel into sub-assemblies.
We have found some really quality employees, in the local area over here. Being able to provide a living wage in a small town like Tower is something that I'm super proud of. I want to be a good employer for the region over here, and we want employees that are passionate about our product, and we have that right now, and it's something that is really nice to see on a daily basis.
Steve is 77 years old, so I call him our intern. But he's been here a long time, and he has no desire to retire, and we have no desire to lose him. Rick is actually working on one of the sauna stoves right now. So this one's getting pretty far along, pretty close to being completed. And Rick's also our shop foreman.
The question is how many adults does it take to move a Kuma stove? And I think the answer is 3 and a dolly. I mean, it's 350 pounds without the fire brick and without the rocks on top.
Once we come out of the weld shop, we come out here, and this is where we do paint prep. The key is in the preparation, as with any painting. From there, it'll go into the paint booth. Once they come out, they're painted, they'll look like this.
My dad, Daryl Lampa, spent countless hours running this whole operation, basically with 1 or 2 other guys. He not only was known as probably the best welder in the area, but he handled all the customer service, all the ordering, all the final inspection on everything, and he did that probably for close to 30 years.
I joke that the Kuma cures all building ills. I mean, you can be off in a lot of your nuances of your build, but the Kuma makes up for a lot of that.
I have focused on getting word out there on just not only the quality of materials that we use in the product, but then the longevity of the products as well. So the best way to do that is having people share their experiences. And if you spend any time on sauna forums on Facebook, I mean, Kuma comes up and people swear by it, and it's something that makes me very proud because I know, all the hard work that my great-grandpa, my grandpa, my dad have put into this.
Well, even just lighting the fire and to hear the sound of the fire and the flames dancing, it's just very soul satisfying. And I think the sauna for me has a real heart-soul connection too, because not only is it about cleaning the body, it's about cleaning the mind, clearing the mind. And that to me is the most gratifying part.
I moved to Minnesota after living in Europe, and Northern Europe specifically, and becoming just a huge fan of sauna and nature. The birches, the pines, the shield lakes, the granite outcroppings. I love that topography, and I moved to Minnesota because of it. I love that topography. So one of the first things I did is purchase a Kuma stove and build a sauna. That was like a quest of mine that I was so happy to do 30 years ago and live it today.
The healing aspects of it, I believe, are just the relaxation of it and the aroma. Inside it's all cedar, and you smell that when you walk in. The sauna vestas that people like to make, you put this on the hot rocks. After it's been soaking in water for a while, you put this on the hot rocks and let it heat up. And then you very gently, just put it over your body. And it helps with blood circulation. And the rhythmic action is once again a very spiritual experience. And of course the aroma, that cedar, it's ihana, as they would say in Finnish, which means more beyond wonderful.
We put the Kuma stove in our big community sauna in Lake Superior because it was the local option. It was the folks that we knew and we built a relationship with. It's built to last. It burns really efficiently, which matters in our world of thinking through how do we do things with a little bit more eye towards environmental friendly. My name is Justin Juntunen, CEO and founder of Cedar and Stone Nordic Sauna, based here in Duluth, Minnesota. I knew we needed to start with an experience because the experience economy, that's what people come up to Duluth for, that's burgeoning. So much of the business plan work was around wellness and boutique wellness. People want those experiences of the North while they're here. I think sauna is one of the best experiences of the North. One of the top questions was, do you build these? And I knew that we'd be asked that, especially when we built this big one that was beautiful. And so from the get-go, I've always said, yes, we absolutely build these. This is part of the plan. It was just a question of how was that going to happen? And what COVID did was it dialed back the experience side because we, for 4 months, had to shut down and be safe. And it just totally put jet fuel into the build side.
Come on in. Welcome to our shop. This is the home of Cedar and Stone sauna building operation. I'm Joel Vikra, and this is where we build stuff. When we're building a sauna, we typically begin by building the base. Steel makes a great foundation because it's incredibly strong and rigid, but it also allows us to basically turn the sauna into a trailer, so we can bring it from our shop here to site. We set it down on piers and remove the trailer bits, and then you have your building right there. So it's an efficient way of building and delivering it. Once we build a frame, then we start to build essentially a small building on top of it. We customize each one to the site it's going to, where we put the windows, how it's going to be situated, which way the roof slopes, whether it has any overhangs or porches, things like that. And then we customize the layout on the interior so it relates to nature the best. Most of the saunas I've taken have no windows or like a tiny window, but we like huge windows. So we just put one in, I think you're gonna go see it, where one whole wall is a window looking out on Lake Superior. So if you use the right kind of glass and the right insulation, you can get away with that. And it makes it much more of like a nature experience instead of just being in a little room real hot.
My wife and I were living in the Pittsburgh area for a while, and Pittsburgh winters weren't cold enough, so we knew we were coming back home. And we were excited to be with family, and we loved Minnesota. And in that summer, we went over to Scandinavia. We did this kind of genealogy tour. And we were in Finland, and we did this sauna that was floating on the Baltic. And we got into this rowboat with this Finnish man, and he rowed us out and left us on this raft to sauna and swim. And I told my wife that day, I said, hey, if this could happen in the US, it would happen in Duluth. And that was over a decade ago. And so the idea of the business, not just the tradition and growing up with it, really started then. And then we moved back to Duluth and we fell in love with this city again. I want the flourishing of Duluth and the people that are here and anybody who comes to play here. And the how sauna sort of became the how to do that. And we began envisioning it. And my wife was like, hey, I need to see some details. You can't just tell a good story. What does this look like on paper? And so we wrote the 47-page business plan and we did all the legwork, and it was like, you know what, this really could work here. One of those examples was working with Jesse Hinkemeyer at the Inn on Lake Superior, and we had already built it. And I set up the meeting, and I brought the mobile sauna to him, and I said, Jesse, here's what I want to do. I want to guide people through this process of sauna. People come up here to Duluth, they want to relax, they want to get away, they want to adventure. I want to do that right here, right on the shores of Lake Superior, right next to the hotel. Here's how I think we could do it.
Justin is he's an evangelist to this. He's a spiritual guide in a way, and he's a special person that way to help guide people through sauna.
He walked in and he said, this place is beautiful. I can see that. I can see people wanting that. We just, found the right people that we had been working with, and the main kind of crux of that was beginning to work with Joel Vikra, and we hired Joel and Nick, another great craftsman, to build our benches in the community space. And they're these beautiful, sinuous, kind of waterfall-looking benches with clear cedar, and they're like furniture. And Joel and I just kept talking, and we said, hey, we should think about a way to do more than just benches. We should do the whole thing.
So one of the things that is most fun about this are the people who are involved. So we've got a team of a retired professional ballet dancer. We have an opera singer and college professor. We've got a guitar maker. We have a couple of apprentices.
We've been building a team, and I've been more impressed and more proud, not of just the beautiful structures we built, but the fact that we've built a team and we've paid people salaries and money and hours that have fed their families during one of the hardest times.
With COVID, people are working kind of weird schedules so they can accommodate family needs and stuff like that. But it's a great team.
When I watch Duluth businesses make things, many of them are trying to not say, we're going to make the cheapest product for you, we're going to make the most quality. And I look at Lowell furniture that's beautiful and modern and thoughtful in its design and lasts. I think that's what we're trying to do. I often heard that success wasn't built around did you do the thing. It was success is really measured by you being obedient to the call. I think I'm doing the thing that I'm built for in the city that I love, and not many people get to say that.
Sauna is, and cold is a great healing mechanism.
There are multiple ways throughout culture that people have said, what does cold and hot do for our health? And inevitably, it makes you feel great.
And I've even heard that, you know, when the Finnish parliament had difficult decisions, they used the sauna. They went and took a sauna and they were able to work it out. So I think, yeah, if you've got kind of a cranky marriage, it could actually improve your relationship. So you might want to invest in a sauna.